Good evening, everyone. So, we are the Group 5 and we are going to report the topic about regulations and supervisions of financial institutions. So, here's the content of our report. 7.1 Bangko Sentral Non-Bank Financial Services, the banking institutions. 7.2 Bangko Sentral regulates non-bank financial institutions. 7.3 Supervisions and regulations distinguish. 7.4 Effectiveness of supervision and regulation. 7.5 Benefits of bank supervision. So, the first content is all about Bangko Sentral non-bank financial services, the banking institutions. Bangko Sentral. The Bangko Sentral has supervision over the operations of banks and exercises such regulatory powers as provided in the new Central Act and other pertinent laws over the operations of finance companies and non-bank financial institutions performing quasi-banking functions. So, ang Bangko Sentral ay ang nangangasiwa sa mga operasyon ng mga bangko at nagsasagawa ng mga kapangyarihang pangregulasyon tulad ng itinakda sa New Central Bank Act at iba pang nauugnay na mga batas sa mga operasyon ng mga kumpanya ng pananalapi at mga institusyong pampinansyal na hindi bangko na gumaganap ng mga katungkulan ng quasi-banking. At ang pangunahing layunin ng Bangko Sentral ay ang mapanatili ang katatagan ng presyo na nakatutulong sa balanse at mapanatili ang paglago ng ekonomiya at trabaho. Dapat din itong isulong at panatilihin ang katatagan ng pananalapi at convertibility ng piso. The Manual of Regulations for Non-Bank Financial Institutions codifies and logically organizes Bangko Sentral rules and policy issuance governing non-bank financial institutions supervised by or are under the regulatory ambit of the Bangko Sentral such as quasi-banks, investment houses, and non-stake savings. So, the Manual of Regulations for Non-Bank Financial Institutions serves as a principal source of banking regulations issued by the Monetary Board of the Bangko Sentral, and it also serves as useful reference for any individual, institutions, or agency with an active interest in non-banking financial institutions.
Good evening, everyone. So my report is all about the Bangko Sentral regulates the non-bank financial institution. The BSP has a regulatory power over non-bank financial institution. The BSP supervises banks and regulatory powers over non-bank institution performing quasi-banking functions. So dito, sinasabi na ang Bangko Sentral ang may regulatory power sa mga non-bank financial institution. Kasama na rin dito ang pagsusupervise sa mga non-bank institution that performs quasi-banking function. The non-bank financial institution. These are other financial institutions which engage in specific functions. They provide services related to claims, financial information, and advise, manage portfolios of financial assets on behalf of other economic units, buy and sell claims on institution from clients, and assist in finding sources for those economic units seeking loans. This either private or a government non-bank financial institution. So when we say non-bank financial institution, ito yung mga non-bank financial institution na nagpo-provide ng mga services gaya ng pag-claim. Pag may gusto kang malaman tungkol sa financial, sila rin ang nagmamanage sa iba't ibang portfolio sa aspeto ng pananalapi. Kasama na rin dito ang pag-loan. So meron tayong 10 halimbawa ng private non-bank institution, and the first one is the investment house or banks. And the term investment house is defined to mean as any enterprise which engage in the underwriting of securities of other corporation. Underwriting is the act or process of guaranteeing the distribution of sale and securities of any kind issued by another corporation. Securities are written evidence of ownership, interest, or participation in any enterprise or written evidence of indebtedness of a person or enterprise. Pag sinabi nating investment house or banks, ito yung mga any enterprise na naka-engage sa underwriting of securities of other corporation. Pag sinabi naman nating securities, ito yung isang kasulatan or dokumento na nagpapatunay ng iyong pagmamay-ari sa isang korporasyon. And the second one is the securities brokers or dealers. Pursuant to the provision of the Revised Securities Act, no broker, dealer, or salesman must engage in business in the Philippines as such broker, dealer, or salesman or sell any securities including securities exempted under the said law. Pag sinabi naman nating securities broker or dealer, ito yung mga taong nagbebenta o ito yung mga agent na nagbebenta ng mga property gaya ng bahay para sa iba at hindi sila mismo yung may-ari ng property. Sila yung nakikipag-negotiate sa ibang tao tungkol sa pag-purchase at pagbenta ng mga real estate or securities. So the third one is building and loan association. A building and loan association is a special type of saving institution. Because of its the very nature, however, it falls under the category in view of the fact that it also receives savings from members and lend fund to them. Ito naman ay ang mga financial institution na kung saan maaari kang magbukas ng savings account, kung saan sila din ay nagpapahiram o nagpapautang sa mga gustong mag-loan sa kanila. So the fourth one is credit union. A credit union is another type of savings institution. It also has for its purpose the inculcation of the habit of thrift, frugality, and the idea of helping one another. So ito naman yung samahan na kung saan maaari kang makautang at ang pinakalayunin nito ay matulungan ang bawat isa. Sila ay nagpo-provide ng small loans with very low interest rate. So the fifth one is the private insurance. So private insurance companies contribute to the country's socio-economic development as well as to the insured. Ito ang mga kumpanya na nag-o-offer ng iba't ibang insurance sa mga tao gaya ng life insurance. Number 6 is the pawn shop. So the pawn shop provides credit to small borrowers who are not qualified to obtain small loans from financial institutions. In pawn shop, the cost of borrowing in terms of payment are generally fair. So dito naman, maaari kang magsangla ng iyong mga alahas or mga gamit na may value. Number 7 is the trust companies. A trust company is any corporation, formed or organized for the purpose of acting as trustee or administering any trust or holding property or onto deposit for the use, benefit, behoof of others. So trust companies, they function as corporate and personal trustee. They normally engage in activities of a commercial bank. Number 8, the non-stock savings and loan association. So a non-stock savings and loan association is a corporation engaged in the business of accumulating the savings of its member. So ito naman ay samahan na kung saan maaari ka ding magkaroon ng savings at makapag-loan. Number 9 is the financing companies. Financing companies or partnership, except those regulated by the Bangko Sentral, is the insurance commissioner of the Cooperative Administration Office, which are primarily organized for the purpose of extending credit facilities to consumer and to industrial, commercial, or agricultural enterprise. So, itong mga financial institution na kung saan nagpapautang sa mga tao upang magamit sa pagnenegosyo, maaari kang humiram dito ng pampuhunan sa iyong negosyo. 10 is the other non-bank financial institution. These are financial institutions that are unknown to many people. Fund managers, lending investor, and venture capital corporations are among these institutions. Ito ay mga iba pang non-bank financial institution gaya ng fund manager, lending investor, and venture capital. So, ayan yung mga halimbawa ng private non-bank institution.
Supervision and regulation distinguish. Dito nakapaloob ang pangangasiwa at pagsusuri sa kalagayang pinansyal ng mga individual banks at ang kanilang pagsunod sa mga laws and regulations. The Federal Reserve regulates and supervises financial institutions such as banks to ensure that they operate safely. When Congress passes a law that impacts the financial industry, the Fed creates regulations to implement that law. Pinangangasiwaan ng Fed ang ilang uri ng mga institusyon. Pinangangasiwaan nito ang mga bangko at mga kumpanyang may hawak ng pananalapi, ang mga kumpanyang nagmamay-ari ng mga bangko at iba pang mga unit ng pagpapatakbo ng pananalapi, kabilang ang mga kumpanyang nag-iimpok at may hawak ng pautang, ang mga kumpanyang nagmamay-ari ng mga thrift o savings bank. Pinangangasiwaan din ng Fed ang mga state-chartered na bangko na mga miyembro ng Federal Reserve System at iba't ibang dayuhang organisasyon ng pagbabangko. Sinusupervise din ng Fed ang mga non-bank financial institutions upang matiyak na safe at maayos ang pananalapi ng isang bangko. Kapag nagpasa ang Congress ng law about financial industry, ang Fed ang nag-i-implement nito. Regulation is the work of establishing the rules and financial institutions must follow, in other words, issuing specific rules and guidelines governing the formation, operations, activities, and acquisitions of financial institutions. Ang regulation ay nangangailangan ng pagtatatag ng mga patakaran kung saan dapat gumana ang mga institusyong pampinansyal. Kabilang dito ang paglalabas ng mga partikular na regulasyon at alintuntunin na namamahala sa pagbuo, pagpapatakbo, mga activities, at pagkuha ng mga institusyong pampinansyal. Nag-aalok ang Federal Reserve ng numerous resources upang tulungan ang mga banking organizations at mga publiko na maunawaan ang mga patakarang ito. Once the rules and regulations are set, supervision, monitoring, and examining financial institutions looks at whether an institution follows those rules and regulations, and that it operates in a safe and sound manner. Kapag naitakda na ang rules and regulations, ang gagawin naman ng Fed is isusupervise, imamonitor, at i-examine nila yung mga financial institution kung sinusunod ng isang institusyon ang mga rules and regulations na yun. The difference between these two concepts is very important. If regulation sets the rules of the road, supervision is the process that ensures obedience to these rules, and sometimes to norms that exist outside these rules entirely. Ang regulation ay mga written rules that define acceptable behavior and conduct for financial institutions. The Board of Governors, along with other bank regulatory agencies, carries out this responsibility. Ito ay ang pagtatakda ng mga rules and guidelines para sa banking system. Regulation is the highly choreographed process of generating public engagement in the creation of rules. While supervision naman, dito nakapaloob ang financial condition ng isang bangko at dito ini-evaluate ang pagsunod or compliance nila with the laws and regulations. Bank supervision refers to the enforcement of these rules at ito ay proseso na tumitiyak na nasusunod ang mga rules na ito. Supervision and regulation. The Division of Supervision and Regulation exercises and oversees the board's supervisory and regulatory authority over a variety of financial institutions and activities with the goal of promoting a safe, sound, and stable financial system that supports the growth and stability of the U.S. economy. The Federal Reserve carries out its supervisory and regulatory responsibilities and supporting functions primarily by promoting the safety and soundness of individual financial institutions supervised by the Federal Reserve. Taking a microprudential approach to the supervision of the largest, most systematically important financial institutions, developing supervisory policy, including regulations, policy statements, and guidance, regulating the U.S. banking and financial structure by acting on a variety of proposals and enforcing laws and regulations. Ang Federal Reserve ay isang agency na nagsisilbing central bank sa U.S. Its establishment resulted from the enactment and passage of the Federal Reserve Act after there was a series of financial downturns and panics. Some of the functions of the Fed are: Number 1. Overseeing financial institutions. Minomonitor at kinokontrol ng Fed ang mga financial activities ng commercial banks upang matiyak na safe at maayos ang operation ng isang banking system. Pangalawa, conducting the monetary. Ginagamit ng ahensya ang patakaran sa pananalapi upang ayusin ang level ng supply ng pera sa ekonomiya. Number 3, promoting efficiency in the financial system. Itinataguyod ito ng Fed sa pamamagitan ng pagtitiyak na ligtas at maaasahang sistema ng pagbabayad sa mga transaksyon. Maraming salamat po.
Effectiveness of supervision and regulation. Banks are an essential component of any modern economy. They provide an easy way for people to save and they provide payment services, primarily in the form of checks, electronic funds, transfers, and credit and debit cards. Without payment services, the economy would quickly come to a halt. Ang mga bangko ay napakahalagang bahagi sa ating modernong ekonomiya. Ito ay nagbibigay ng madaling paraan sa pag-save. At ito rin ay ginagamitan ng payment services, katulad ng mga checks, electronic funds, transfers, o proseso ng user ng isang bangko na naililipat ang pera sa ibang account, na ito ay paraan ng pagbayad. Andito din ang credit at debit cards. Kung walang payment services, ang ekonomiya ay madaling huminto o bumaba ang ating ekonomiya. Banks are also high leverage. Most of them have liabilities that are at least 10 times their bank capital. So even small losses can wipe out the bank's capital. Furthermore, the use of leverage is achieved by using other people's money, deposits, loans, and stockholders' equity, which creates the moral hazard inherent in risking other people's money for one's own profit. Sa pagkakaintindi ko rito, yung bank leverage ay ito yung mga investment na galing sa profit ng mga nag-share sa bank. Kumbaga, hiniram yung pera nila para i-investment sa bangko at para lumaki ang profit. Pero syempre, sugal yung gumawa ng ganon. Kaya kadalasan, may negative impact like pagkabaon sa utang na naging sanhi ng bankrupt. Supervision enables regulators to evaluate and promote the safety and soundness of individual banks, are known as microprudential supervision, and the banking system as a whole, or macroprudential supervision. Risk-based supervision, or RBS, increases the effectiveness of supervision through improving supervisory outcomes, whilst also increasing efficiency through improved resource allocation and processes. It involves allocating resources to the areas of greatest risk. Ang supervision ang nagbibigay daan sa regulators para mag-evaluate at ma-promote ang kaligtasan at kagandahan ng bawat bangko. Ang RSB o ang tinatawag na risk-based supervision ay ini-increase nila ang epektibo ng supervision ng kanilang isinasagawa o ang mga ginagawa nilang proseso.
Hi, I am Mika Sosa. I'll be the one who report this part, which is the benefits of bank supervision. Department heads and examiners are authorized by the Monetary Board to examine, inquire, or look into all deposits of whatever nature with banking institutions in the Philippines, including investment and debt instruments issued by the national government, its political subdivisions, and its instrumentalities, after being satisfied that there is reasonable ground to believe. The department heads and examiners of the supervising and or examining department are authorized to administer oaths to any directors, officer, or employee. Ang mga pinuno ng departamento at mga taga-suri ay pinahihintulutan ng Monetary Board na suriin sa atin o tingnan ang lahat ng mga deposito sa anumang uri ng mga institusyon sa bangko sa Pilipinas, kabilang ang pamumuhunan sa instrumento sa utang na inisyu ng pambansang pamahalaan, mga subdivisyong pampolitika nito at mga instrumental nito. Ang mga pinuno ng departamento at mga taga-suri ng departamentong nangangasiwa o nagsusuri ay pinahihintulutan ng mga siwa ng mga panunumpa sa sinumang mga direktor, opisyal o empleyado. The major benefits of bank controls are: first, prevention of overexpansion or underexpansion of money and credit through a system-wide monopoly or through excessive competition. Ito ay ang pag-iwas sa labis na pagpapalawak o kulang sa pagpapalawak ng pera at kredito sa pamamagitan ng monopolyo sa buong sistema o sa pamamagitan ng labis na kompetisyon. Second, elimination of monopoly. Monopolies are discouraged in free market economies as they stifle competition and limit substitutes for consumers. Sa Estados Unidos, inilalagay ang batas sa antitrust upang paghigpitan ang mga monopolyo. Tinitiyak na hindi makokontrol ng isang negosyo ang isang merkado at gamitin ang kontrol na iyon upang pagsamantalahan ang mga customer nito. Third is protection of depositors against the consequences of bank failures. Proteksyon ng mga depositor laban sa mga kahihinatnan ng mga pagkabigo sa bangko. Kung sakaling magkaroon ng bank failures, mabilis na kumikilos ang Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation o FDIC upang protektahan ang mga insured depositor sa pamamagitan ng pag-aayos ng pagbebenta sa isang healthy banks o sa pamamagitan ng direktang pagbabayad sa mga depositor para sa kanilang mga deposit account sa limitasyon ng insured. And the last benefits of bank controls is no restraining order or injunction is to be issued by the court enjoining the Bangko Sentral from examining any institution subject to the supervision and or examination by the Bangko Sentral. Walang restraining order o injunction ang ipapalabas ng korte na nag-uutos sa Bangko Sentral na suriin ang anumang institusyong na pailalim sa pangangasiwa at o pagsusuri ng Bangko Sentral. Maliban kung may nakakumbinsi na patunay na ang aksyon ng Bangko Sentral ay malinaw na arbitraryo at ginawa sa masamang hangarin at ang petitioner o nasasakdal ay nagsampa sa clerk o hukom ng korte kung saan ang aksyon ay nabinbin ang isang bono na ipinatupad pabor sa Bangko Sentral sa halagang aayusin ng korte. The provisions of Rule 58 of the new rules of court, and so far as they are applicable and not inconsistent with the provisions of this section, shall govern the issuance and dissolution of the restraining order or injunction contemplated in this section. Supervision has a number of important functions. In addition to the consistent implementation of regulation, supervision can complement regulation in dealing with the financial sector's continuous innovation and adaptation, thereby reducing the need for frequent rule changes and promoting regulatory stability. Ang supervision ay may ilang mahalagang tungkulin bilang karagdagan sa pagpapatupad ng regulasyon. Ang supervision ay maaaring umakma sa regulasyon sa pagharap sa tuloy-tuloy na pagbabago at pag-aangkop ng financial sector. Sa gayon ay binabawasan ang pangangailangan para sa madalas na pagbabago ng panuntunan at pagtataguyod ng katatagan ng regulasyon. The Division of Supervision and Regulation exercises and oversees the board's supervisory and regulatory authority over a variety of financial institutions and activities with the goal of promoting a safe, sound, and stable financial system that supports the growth and stability of the Philippine economy. Ang Division of Supervision and Regulations ay nagsasanay at nangangasiwa sa board, supervisory at pangangasiwa ng otoridad ng financial institution at aktibidad sa pananalapi na may layuning isulong ang isang ligtas, maayos at matatag na sistema ng pananalapi na sumusuporta sa paglago at katatagan ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Central goal in the design of regulatory and supervisory regime for financial services is to create a framework that ensures the safety of the financial system as a whole and allows other objectives of supervision, investor and consumer protection to be attained efficiently and effectively. Ang pangunahing layunin sa disenyo ng mga regulasyon at pangangasiwa ng mga rehimen para sa mga serbisyo sa pananalapi ay upang lumikha ng isang balangkas na nagsisiguro sa kaligtasan ng financial system sa kabuuan at nagpapahintulot sa iba pang mga layunin ng pangangasiwa, halimbawa, mamumuhunan at proteksyon ng consumer na makamit ng mahusay at epektibo.
Good evening, everyone. So for my part, I will discuss the importance of supervision. There are three main reasons or functions to be highlighted. The first one is the success of any regulatory standard depends on the supervision of that standard. As the regulatory reform program approaches finalization, It is natural that the Basel Committee's focus is now shifting towards supervision and assessment of impacts, whether intended or unintended. Consistent implementation of the rules is one of the important roles of supervision, possibly the most important. It is a way to ensure sound balance sheets and resilient financial system. Dito, sinasabi na ang tagumpay ng anumang pamantayan sa regulasyon ay nakasalalay sa pangangasiwa ng pamantayang iyon. Ang pare-parehong pagpapatupad ng mga patakaran ay isa sa mga mahalagang tungkulin ng pangangasiwa. Marahil ang pinakamahalaga. Ito ay isang paraan upang matiyak na maayos ang balanse at isang matatag na sistema ng pananalapi. A second important role is dealing with complexity, innovation, and continuous change. In a highly dynamic, changing, and complex world, regulations are permanently playing catch-up with a continuously adapting financial sector. Supervision can complement regulation in dealing with this challenge. Halimbawa, ang ilan sa mga problemang nauugnay sa labis na pagkakaiba-iba ng mga asset na may timbang sa panganib sa mga bangko ay maaaring matugunan hindi lamang sa pamamagitan ng paglalagay ng ilang mga hadlang sa mga panloob na modelo ng bangko, kundi sa pamamagitan din ng pagiging mas mahigpit sa pag-aaproba ng modelo. Third, merely complying with regulation is not enough for the banking system to fulfill the role that the society wants it to play. It needs to do more. In particular, trust in the system must be restored. This requires not only the strengthening of balance sheets or compliance with the regulations, but also changes in behavior and in the culture of financial institutions. Culture is a difficult concept to grasp. It deals with the values and behavior. That being said, if culture is what people to do when no one is watching, then can supervisors, by watching, monitoring, and asking questions, influence culture for the better? It is important for the supervision to contribute to enhancing culture because culture influences decisions and behavior. In conclusion, supervision can complement regulation in dealing with the financial sector's continuous innovation and adaptations. More proactive use of supervisory tools can help take some of the burden of regulation, reducing the need for too frequent rules changes, thereby promoting regulatory stability. Moreover, supervision can go beyond the quantitative requirements of regulation to address qualitative matters such as banks' corporate governance. By monitoring the right indicators and asking the right question, supervisors can influence banks to change the risk culture for the better. In short, there is a lot that supervisors should do to help make banks not only more resilient but also more reliable, and thus more able to perform their intended economic and social functions. That's all for my report, and I hope you learned from our report. Thank you.